What's cracking, people? It's your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I want to present part 3 of the 3-part series regarding select men and mental health. Now, the first part, which I'll add the link down below, we talked about restoring the crowns of our society and how mental health and the structure of the family and community at large starts with the leadership of the elders. And number 2, which I mostly put on the Patreon side because of some of the content, talked about how to implement holistic rituals that evolve all of the senses using the 4 primary elements. And in this part of the series, I want to discuss women who heal. So basically, in one part or another, on the Patreon side and some on the YouTube side, I like to give a little insight regarding how high-level men or Masters of the Universe, Select Men, Alpha Showpieces, USPs, or whatever, like to set up a roster. And really, how a man positions his roster really has a good portion to do with how he is balanced. And that's because a high-value man recognizes the importance and the position that strategic women can play within his world, and especially on his roster. And so for me, I like to incorporate not just 1, but 2 healers on my roster. And they're not necessarily both for me. So one, the initial healer, is definitely for me. And the second healer is for her, actually. This is because they play off of each other's energy, and it gets directed through me with my above wand and below wand. You know, the initiates, the high level guys know what I mean when I say that, as above, so below. But in any case, the energy dynamic of the 2 healers that I include on my roster is basically like this. The initial healer is the one who has the intuition. She is the softer one. She's, like water. She's flowy. She is, has a certain way about her, certain idiosyncrasies about her. The second healer is more of the warrior spirit. She's usually an athlete, a former athlete or a trainer, and her energy is more upfront. It's more dynamic. It's more active. And basically, they come together and they give the other one what the first one is lacking. And ultimately, I'm the beneficiary of all the good shit. But at the end of the day, that's just an example of how feminine energy truly is a healing power if you position it properly within your life as a masculine master. So, for the remainder of this podcast, I want to go into 3 ways how you can tell that you're in the presence of a healer, or you may already have a healer on your roster and not even know it. So you need to identify that and support that. So, number 1, first way that you can tell that she's a healer is she's Erykah Badu or Sade Adu. I'm just kidding. But if they're open to jump on roster positions, I'm always taking applications. In any case, but seriously, the number 1 way is her energy is balanced and inviting, even before you approach. Now, I'm sure most men who move about anywhere in corporate spaces, on the trains, planes, buses, or whatever, in just your daily life, you encounter women who are like a breath of fresh air. You may not even know this person. You may have seen this person from a distance, and there's just something about her energy Most of them have a certain flotation about themselves, meaning that it's almost as if their feet don't even touch the ground when they move around. This is because when they've come into their own and they've ditched the cogs of the corporate plantation and have embraced wearing garments that are conducive to the flow of good energy, and they're not only does their intuitive energy that they put off become something that's inviting, but their visual aspects are so enchanting that you can't help but take notice. Now, this isn't to say that women who are healers aren't, as noticeable, but they're noticeable to a lesser degree. You have to do a bit of investigating to see and to perceive those healing aspects. So you have women on your job in corporate America. You have women in your workspace, at your gym, or in a yoga studio or somewhere else where that's less pronounced. She's not necessarily wearing the quote-unquote healer uniform with the head wrap and the body garments and the jewelry and all these other things. Those are the uniform, quote-unquote, of healers on a certain path. Those people who have embraced that position and can care less about how people perceive them, what people think. They usually don't keep a traditional job. They're entrepreneurs. They make things. They're herbologists or whatever. But that's not to say that there are healers and other degrees or different shades of healers that you can come across in your daily lives. Number 2, she's sensitive to the energies around her and places barriers to either block those energies, or she cuts the heads off of these toxic or negative energies before they even come too close. Now, number 2 obviously is a direct correlation to the 2 healers that I have on my roster, and that's an example of 2 facets of that energy, that healer energy, and what they're capable of doing. One facet of the healer energy, or the feminine healer energy, is the cozy, the inviting, the siren song. She wants you to be cozy, comfortable. She wants you to be in a space that's relaxing and you can be rejuvenated. On the other side, another dynamic of that is that she will cut the head off of the negative energy before it even enters her space, and you, by extension, before it enters your space. So you've got this defensive mechanism that she can perceive certain types of energies. And when I say this, I know a lot of guys can relate, and this is why actually a lot of high-level bosses have certain females or women on their boards, the boards of directors, high-level positions in companies or in administrations or government, because an aspect of feminine healing energy is defense. We won't get into Shiva or Shakti, but there are elements of this particular defensive energy in almost every culture on the planet. And those 2 energy dynamics of, the soft, more inviting healer and the defensive, more active healer play harmoniously off of each other. So, gentlemen, if you're in a position to add those 2 dynamics to your roster, do so. You will not ever regret that. So lastly, number 3. This is the 3rd way that you can tell that a woman who you encounter is a healer. She actually heals you. Let me let that fade out there in the ether for a moment. She actually heals you. In this society, in this day and age, there's so much emphasis placed on getting the bag or securing the bag at all costs. So much has been said and documented regarding the quote-unquote gender war and how members on either side fare in this. And at the end of the day, for truly select men, for alphas, for technicians, for masters of the universe, none of these things have traditionally applied in this space. But the one thing that a masculine master can take away regarding how to spot a woman capable of that healing or that feminine healing aspect is that she shows her work, right? You feel better having met her. You feel better even if the two of you don't link. And that's the kicker. When you deal with masculine mastery at this level, one of the secrets is that in dealing with women, you don't necessarily have to sleep with them in order for there to be a value exchange. Now, don't get me wrong, sex definitely is an enhanced form of energy exchange and communication ultimately. However, if you encounter a woman who brings value, tangible value, relatable value to your space, to your roster, to your system, to your world, absolutely bring her in. To a masculine master, sex is lower on the priority totem pole. Even though men, including myself in this space, we discuss sex because sex is a great entry into a lot of other things and a lot of different spaces. But the more mature you become, the more you start to slow down and observe the field so that your purview expands. You get to appreciate the finer things, the nuance of interacting with women, and especially feminine women. And most importantly, healers. And as always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying stay sharp and mission focused. Later.